What is happening, guys? Welcome to another episode of Comic Book Weekly. Got a fun show for you tonight. Brant might be running late, so hopefully he'll join us shortly. But yes, welcome to the show. And I think it's going to be a fun topic. Like I said, it's going to be like, what if you were editor-in-chief? What would you do to fix Marvel Comics? So it's always fun when you can put yourself in the editor-in-chief's chair and be like, you guys are going to do this, so it's kind of cool. There's not that much news to really discuss. Once again, it's always that time of year where there's just really nothing,
They're getting ready for Comic-Con.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll start it off with that. Kat, if you want to start off with the news. I did not get a chance to watch the trailer of season 2 of Peacemaker. So what'd you think of it?
I really liked it. I really love the first season of Peacemaker, and that was kind of a random show I watched because I saw the Suicide Squad and I'm like, all right, let me check it out. And I really loved the show. Didn't know I would. And then the second season looks like it's just the right amount of fun as that first season. Hopefully the wait was worth it because it's been like 2 or 3 years since the last season. But yeah, no, I enjoyed the trailer. There's some like really fun humor in it. I'm just excited for it to return. I think it comes back in August. No, your backdrop doesn't fit your head. So we're waiting for Brant. We'll change it if Brant doesn't come on in a few minutes, but that it should fit us when Brant comes on.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
He said he was setting up.
But no, I has it been like 2-3 years already since that season's come out?
Yeah, because he's been working on obviously Superman and everything. Let me see when the last time it came out. Peacemaker season 1, say release date. But I think 2022 it came out. It's been like 3 years.
Man, that's
January.
Crazy. That's crazy. Jeez. Insane.
I recommend it if you haven't seen. I know you haven't seen the show, but I genuinely think you would really like it.
I'm like so far behind on shows. It's one of those things where it's like probably Peacemaker I can get away with watching on my own, but like
it's only
me and my
episodes.
son usually watch the shows together, and it's just a matter of us being at the same time to watch the shows together. That's why I'm behind on Invincible and Daredevil and all this other stuff also,
No, I get it. Like when you have shows with other people, it's always harder to get it. Like my family and I, we have White Lotus that we watch, and season 3 we've not watched because it's hard to get together, and then Only Murders in the Buildings or other like family show, and it's just hard to get everyone. It's funny, on one of my shows I watched with Phil, every single time we finished a convention, we'd watch Dairy Girls, and we always have this joke of like, well, anytime we finish a convention, we're always so tired, so we don't watch anything. So it took us like 3 years to finish that show because it just, again, to find the time to do it all.
Yeah.
Have you seen the teaser for Spider-Man War? I have. We had it on the list, but I don't think any of us really had that much to say. It's not revealing that much.
I didn't even know. I didn't even see it. So what is it? Just him on a building or something?
Yeah, it's just him looking like Spider-Man Noir. It's like a super close up. There's not much to it besides like a black and white image. I mean, it looked cool, but there's not much to say about it.
Right.
Tevia asks, have you seen Andor? I have personally not seen any of the Star Wars shows. I have not seen it.
I haven't even watched season 1 of Andor, and I heard it's actually really good. I heard it was like the best Star Wars show, and I heard that's got like the best special effects, like in all that type of other stuff. So yeah, I heard it was good. So I don't know. Again, I might check it out eventually.
Yeah, all those shows, it's hard, man. I feel you on that. I used to obviously love television. I still like TV. It's just hard to find the time when you're reading all the comics and doing everything else with life. The only thing I find myself time with is like Top Chef. I like stuff like that. Hell's Kitchen. So I'll watch something more brainless.
I mean, so like most of the TV I watch is with my wife, and my wife doesn't want to watch Star Wars or that stuff. She's not even that into like real shows either. Like she'll watch a few TV. Of them, but she likes same like you, like the brainless TVs, like reality
after
shows.
A long day, that's all you kind of want.
Right. That's what she watches, and I'll just watch it with her. Like we watch Amazing Race, we watch like Big Brother, we watch like I'll watch the Kardashians with her. I've watched all kinds of stuff. I've watched what the heck is that called? The Murder
Traders.
Show.
Oh, Traders, right?
Traders, yeah,
Yeah,
Traders. I've watched
I heard
Traders.
many good things about that. That's one on my list I really want to
Yeah,
watch because that
it's a
seemed like the
really
mindlessness I want.
it's a really good show. Like I've watched that. So we watch that type of TV, you know.
Yeah, because again, after a long day, that's kind of all you want sometimes. It's hard, especially because we read comics. Like that's kind of our entertainment in that regard. Like after I'm reading all
Right.
my comics, I'm writing comics, I don't really want to watch drama unless I'm like, honestly, sometimes I'll watch it like while I'm working. That's the only time I could really catch myself. Like I'll watch Abbott Elementary or something like that while I'm working and be like, okay, like when I'm like doing something a little bit more mindless. So,
I do watch Squid Games. I
Squid
did watch
Games.
Squid Games. I've watched.
That's a good
I've
one.
watched Breaking Bad. I've watched, I've watched obviously my fair share. Like I've watched all the original Daredevil stuff. I watched the Walking Dead stuff. I mean, like I said, I've watched the first 2 seasons, I think, of Invincible. It's just like I said, my son likes to watch that stuff, and it's us coming together to actually find time to watch it.
Yeah, I like watching movies more often. That's like more of an excuse for me to like go out with my friends or whatever
Sure.
and just be like, let's go see a movie once a week. So I'll do that. And that's why I catch more movies, which is so interesting because, again, growing up, I was definitely more of a TV person. I would watch less movies. And now movies are just a little easier to invest in. It's just like an
I
hour
think
and a
so
half,
because you
you
you sit
know?
down one time and you watch
Yeah.
it where you have all these shows. I think there's more shows now than there ever was before because of all
Yeah.
the streaming services. And so it's like then you got to sit down and you got to commit to this particular show,
And
where
it,
before we had cable TV,
yeah.
and it was just like there was that downtime. Like you had fall and then you had a break and then you had, the rest of this, like the spring before you had another break again. But there wasn't as much stuff.
And I think with movies, it's easier like when you have like Letterbox, right? Because then it feels like an accomplishment. You just watched it, be like, oh, it's something I'll put on my Letterbox, or I'll like review it on my Letterbox. And these are like how many movies I saw the year. So for me, at least, it makes it feel like more of an accomplishment when I like put it
Right.
on my Letterbox. Be like, oh, cool, I watched that movie. Comic books is kind of a cool brain exercise. Yeah, I think it depends on the comic. I think there's some that are, and then some that aren't. So I mean, it depends. Like some are dense, and then some aren't dense. Like I think
Some
it's
are
just like
fun and then
TV.
some are just
Yeah,
like a mystery. I guess it depends on the genre of comic.
yeah, no, for sure. And obviously they're shorter if you're just reading the floppies. But all right, let's move on to some comic news. As we talked about media, we got some comics to talk about. We got James Tynion's Invisible Man. I know people were talking about that in the comments. He is doing an Invisible Man book. I haven't read any of those Universal Monster books, so I don't know if I'm going to pick up this one. James Tynion's a real hit or miss for me. I am going to try out his new series because I like the idea of like a battle royale. That's kind of like a fun concept.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's usually very much a hit or miss. So I don't know if I'd get Invisible Man. I like the movie that came out a few years ago, The Invisible
I didn't
Man. That
see
was
that
more.
one. I didn't see that. Yeah, it looked good, but I never got around to seeing it.
I think you'd like it. It's very much more on the edge of your seat.
Right.
This man is following this woman type situation, and it's more like I guess a commentary on how women feel during the night, and like if a man's watching or whatever. Like that was interesting.
I saw the Invisible Man from like I don't know, was it the late 90s with Kevin Bacon and I think it was Elizabeth Shue was in it. I saw that was the last one I saw. I'll check out this comic. I mean, I've checked out all the other ones. Like Tynion did the Dracula one. So and now he's gonna do this Invisible Man one. And I like Dracula was much different. It was crazy artwork, but I liked it. It was fine. And then Frankenstein was good. The Mummy is oh god, I can't stand the Mummy one. That one is not good in my eyes. So, but I'll definitely check out this one.
Brand said he'll be on soon. He was having some tech issues, so hopefully he'll be on soon.
Okay.
But yeah, let's go into. Oh, we got Ammo who says Mad Cave has been dropping some good comics. Pastime issue 1 was good. Can't wait for issue 2. I don't remember if I read that one. I don't think so. It sounds familiar though. Mad Cave. Let me see who wrote that. Oh, I did read that. I couldn't get into that. That's like the baseball one. He is like an
I
old
didn't like
baseball
that
player.
one either. No, there's a couple of good ones out right now that I'm reading, but that one I thought I would like it, and then it was just like, I don't know. I was expecting like this baseball player to get like he was like this normal guy and he wanted to make a baseball team, and I felt like he was going to get vampire powers and he was trying to hide his identity. It was completely different from what I expected. It like took place in the past, and which was it for me?
Yeah, no, I remember feeling the same way. I like the idea of like the baseball thing, so I thought that was interesting. And we have Brant, so that's
Hey,
cool.
what's up, Brent?
Hey guys.
Hello.
Sorry, I was having trouble with my audio. I still didn't get them to work.
Oh, you sound okay, so hopefully you can hear
what
us
you have
well.
on now.
It's my Bluetooth. I had a Windows update and I think it did something to my Bluetooth, so my earbuds won't connect. But
That's so strange. But you're
Yeah.
here. We didn't go through too many news pieces. We just went through the James Tynion on Invisible Man. You didn't mark that down, and then Peacemaker season 2. So that was pretty much it.
Cool.
We talked about television for a little while. We do have a question from Kevin, who says, anyone read the Heavy Metal magazine? No, I haven't been reading it. I know it's been out, but I haven't really had that on my radar.
Yeah, me either. I mean, I think there was an issue that came out last week, if I remember correctly. So, but I didn't check it out this time around.
Let's get into more comic news. We have, let's see, the Marvel mimics the MCU retelling of Thunderbolts to New Avengers, which is so interesting because the team is not really similar to the movie. They're just like, okay, why not? I always have a hit or miss with that Marvel's trying so hard to be related to the MCU, but then because the idea of them being related to MCU, it's great because if you're watching the movies, you can find something, but at the same time, if it's not
so different,
if it's such a different book and you're just using the title, then like I don't really understand that, so it almost feels a little lazy.
Right?
Did both of you guys watch Thunderbolts yet, or?
I still haven't. My son actually went with his friends today to see it, but he said he wants to see it again with me, so
That's nice.
We're gonna get around to seeing it eventually, I'm sure. But he said it was really good. He really liked it. He said it was the best movie that they've come out with in quite some time, and it's pretty emotional. So he really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I think you guys are gonna like it. I had like no expectations, and it's one of my favorite movies I've seen this year so far.
We still have to see Captain America.
I'll say I would see Thunderbolts before Captain America, but that's just me.
Yeah, he said that. My son said that this was way better than Captain America, and he said it was Captain America. He enjoyed it, but this movie's just something at a higher level.
Yeah, we like to go in order. I don't know. We're dumb.
I'll say that nothing from Captain America, is related to Thunderbolts. But understandable, everyone's got their way of watching. But if you need to pick one, I think Thunderbolts is worth it and a good movie. But with the comic, weird choice. I don't know. Yeah. I genuinely don't like it when Marvel does this because again, it just feels a little cheaper when they do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when DC does it, their stuff actually ties in. It's like they'll create a comic based on the television show or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So people who want to read that, like Peacemaker is a great example. We're just talking about that season. Yeah. They have a comic that if you like that show, you can read the comic and it will be very much up your alley if you enjoy those characters from the show, like vigilantes. So I'm not a huge vigilante fan, so I was like, I don't have to read it. But if you are a vigilante fan, you'll really like the comic book. Okay, let's go into another Marvel piece, which is Marvel teases the all-new Age of Apocalypse coming in 2025. I think Borefest. That's my opinion. We've seen this so many times. This specific series we see it a lot. We've seen the whole Apocalypse thing. They literally did that series of who's the next apocalypse, and I'm just like, I'm so tired of the events just being recycled over and over again. I really want a new concept at this point.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you all know how much I love that original Age of Apocalypse storyline, and for me, it's like one of the best, events and crossovers they've ever done. But it keeps getting diluted and diluted and diluted, and the more you go back to it, it's not the same, and it's never going to be the same. It's like trying to catch lightning in a bottle, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, they're just trying to get the older readers or whatever it is,
or renew copyrights. Yeah,
I mean, it's just kind of like, well, just do something new, man.
Yeah.
I mean, or just don't even worry about coming out with another type of event. Just write a story,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's just kind of weird for me. I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm like, how many times have we got to see Age of Apocalypse? It's so dumb. And then it's like on top of it, you're getting that whole new apocalypse, right? That's coming out on top of it. So it's just weird.
Yeah, not a fan of that one. Have you guys been keeping up with the new Ultimate Universe? What do you think? We have, but sporadically, because like Mike, you read the Ultimates and Ultimate Spider-Man. Yeah. I only read Ultimate Spider-Man. Brant, are you only reading Ultimate Spider-Man right now?
No, I read Ultimates and Ultimate Wolverine.
Okay, and
Ultimate Wolverine, I read too.
Wolverine too. So we read 3 of them. Ultimate Black Panther, neither any of us read. No. Ultimate X-Men, we don't read. So it feels, it's so interesting because it just feels so uncohesive, the universe, where it's like it's an alternate universe, kind of, because the other Ultimate Universe titles, like they did feel different, like Ultimate X-Men or the Avengers, but they all felt like they were part of the same universe. Here,
right,
that doesn't feel like that. And Absolute, and we'll talk about it more, Absolute all does feel like different stories, but there is that cohesiveness of when it launched. So we know that Darkseid is kind of behind some stuff, and they keep teasing what the connective tissue is. Right. So for me, honestly, it feels a little bit more connected. But yeah, the Ultimate Universe doesn't.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, there's the only thing that connects them, like as far as like Wolverine, you've got, Colossus and those characters that we saw like in the Ultimates and stuff. And then like I think that second arc of Ultimates started to connect a little bit more with what's going on in Spider-Man, but just on the fringes of it. So it's a little bit better than it was when it started, but it's still kind of very all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Absolute definitely connects way more. Especially after you read the free comic book day issue, because this has been out already for a couple weeks, but Mirror Master from the Absolute world and from the current world are kind of working together to put together the pieces, on how all this is happening. And so that's a big deal right there. So that's led to believe that this whole thing is, crossing over, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm excited about that. That's pretty cool.
I agree. So Ultimate Spider-Man is the only one more I'll love from there. We'll obviously talk more about the Marvel stuff in literally a second. We only have one more news piece, which is a new heist series for Cheetah and Cheshire, Rob the Justice League. And this is Greg Rucka, Nicola Scott. This is what we're kind of talking about, in my opinion, for like what DC is kind of doing better. Like this is such an odd concept that you could tell that the creative team just pitched, and they're like, I want to tell this story, and it just feels purposeful and different and new. And you have a superb creative team with Greg Rucka and Nicola Scott, which they've worked on Black Magic together, so they're already a creative team that have worked together and put out some great stuff. So I'm excited for this. Like I didn't know I wanted these two characters together, but why the hell not? It's a really fun concept.
Yeah, I like the concept of it. I think that it is fun. And like you said, the creative team is pretty stellar. So I'm actually looking forward to this too. I like some of the, kind of out there books, like the one that ended this week, Black Canary, Best of the Best, stuff like that. It's kind of cool and it's different, but it's, I don't know. It's just fun.
Tevia says, what about the Jeff Loeb news from Marvel? I didn't even know there was Jeff Loeb news, so I'll look it up. But
I heard something. He's writing something.
I think he's writing the 30th anniversary of Age of Apocalypse. So we were
is that what it is?
So yeah. So there you go. We talked about it. I didn't know he was writing it, but sure, Jeff Loeb's writing it. Makes sense because he's just writing all the nostalgic stuff.
Yeah.
But will people actually support it? People say they want new ideas, but really show up for them. I mean, Absolute's a good example. Is such a brand new idea. People are coming in waves for it. I'm trying to think of other examples that have Poison Ivy. You know, like
Well, there's
Mike, you were saying
new
that.
ideas all the time from creators that used to work at Marvel and DC.
The Jeff Johns universe, Geiger and everything.
Like, think about it. Like, if DC kept Johns, he could have done the Ghost Machine imprint at DC. He could have made it a Vertigo thing, or they could have made it a Black Label thing, or you know what I'm saying? They could have done it.
They could have made a good deal. I don't know. It's so interesting because, like, what is a good deal, especially when you're Jeff Johns? Like, the reason you would go to DC is get recognition, right? But like when you're Jeff Johns, it's like, oh yeah, I can make all the money at Image Comics. Why not? You know?
Yeah.
But
it's tough because they don't pay as much as like if it's your own creation at Image or whatever it is.
Well, it's also the ownership thing, you know? Right. So it's like you might be paid a big salary or check for that one book, but then that book becomes a movie or that book gets merchandise and that's where the real money is.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's just like, why take all that away if you could just do it yourself when you are Jeff Johns, right? Like Scott Snyder, I think, is a good example of when he was like kind of starting to make his name at DC. Like he had Batman and American Vampire. That made sense to be at Vertigo because he was just starting to make his name. But if he had a Vertigo book now, I don't know if it would make sense. Honestly, James Tynion's another example of that too. He had Nice House on the Lake and then kind of stepped away from that because I think he realized, oh, I can make more money not at DC. Okay, I'm just gonna do my own thing at, you know, Boom and Image. And I think that's why we don't really see more from Nice House on the Lake because what is he? And again, I don't know the specific deal, but like I'm sure he's making more money or better opportunities with his other work.
Right.
So interesting stuff there. But let's get into the main topic, which is the State of Marvel. We were kind of hinting at it before and again, if you guys are new to the show, all three of us are bigger Marvel fans than DC
Believe
fans.
It or not. Yeah.
Believe it or not. And I was telling this to Mike last week, and I don't remember if I said it on air, but after I watched Thunderbolts, I was with my business partner and he likes DC more. Like he's a bigger DC fan. And I turned to him like, oh, what do you think of the movie? Wasn't that great? He said, I liked it, but you know, I like Suicide Squad more. I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. And then we both like just saw the reason we like the movies differently is like, I'm more of a Marvel fan. So I would like something more like Thunderbolts. And then he's more of a DC fan. So he would like something more with Suicide Squad because they're, you know, relatively the same movie. So I thought that was really interesting because it reminded me how much of a Marvel fan I am. Because like, especially recently, I think sometimes we forget. Because right now, personally, I really am only enjoying Ultimate Spider-Man from Marvel. And Exceptional X-Men. Those are only two comics that I'm particularly enjoying. I hope I love Runaways when that comes out. I'm sure I will. But yeah, I'm like really liking two comics from Marvel.
I, you know, when it comes to Marvel, I would say like the top tier book for me is Ultimate Spider-Man. I don't know if there is another top tier book, like next level book. Like when you think of like Image Comics or even DC these days, like you look at Absolute Superman or Green Lantern or the Absolute books just in general, they seem to be like that next level. Even the new Green Lantern series since All In has been next level. I was talking to Kat today about Poison Ivy. It's been really solid. Like there is more than a handful of books of DC that is putting out to where I can sit there and say, pick up these books. You should like them if you like these characters, right? And if you've never read these characters before, then check out the Absolute line because this is a good introduction to this version of these characters. Whereas I could say for Marvel, I can't sit there and go, these are the best books that Marvel has ever put out. In fact, it's not even close as of recently, because I was thinking about it today. I was like driving to work or whatever it is. I'm like, I feel like in the past 2 years, Marvel is really just, I don't know. It's just like dropped the ball big time. And we were all excited about the Ultimate Universe, and I still think there is definitely potential there because I do like the Ultimates and I do like Ultimate Spider-Man, and there is a potential story coming down the line with that. But it's just, I don't know, it doesn't hit quite as much as Absolute Universe. So yeah, it's tough, man.
I think the only thing that, and again, me and Mike will have different opinions, but I know me and Brant agree. I think the only thing I'm like feeling Marvel is doing better is their X-Men line. I feel like there's a series for everybody. I like the idea that they're trying to introduce these new characters and just trying to do something different with the X-Men, even though they have this Apocalypse event coming up. But I do like that side of Marvel right now. But yeah, well, first of all, Brant, what are books that you are enjoying from Marvel?
I mean, like both of you, Ultimate Spider-Man like stands head and shoulders above all the rest right now, I think. There are like a handful of books that I'm enjoying, but none of them come close to that level. And I know like I'm the only one here, I think, that enjoys it, but I actually enjoy Spider-Gwen right now. I don't know if you still enjoy it or not. Yeah.
I like it. Every week it surprises me. Like it's a book where I like look at it. I'm like, I shouldn't like this. She's a freaking cosmic cube. That's stupid. Yeah. But then I read it. I'm like, somehow Stephanie Phillips does do a good job with it. I did like the Melissa Flores run a little bit more because it felt more like her, and I do miss her in Earth 65. But I think if you are putting her in Earth 616, this is the best way to do it. And I like this issue. We'll talk about it too. But like, I do think but when I think about books I love, it's just one of those books where I like it. I like it enough, but I've enjoyed other runs of Spider-Gwen more.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that. There's a few books like that are like, I'm enjoying this, but I know I'm probably one of the very few that are. And it's Deadpool. Just like exactly. It's almost like a guilty pleasure kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. So when it comes to like that level though, like Ultimate Spider-Man, I can't think of a single other book from Marvel right now that I'm liking that much. So
it's like there are a lot of like mediocre, maybe just above average books where you get a decent issue there, and then there's an average issue here, and there's elements that you like. Like, for instance, like I'm enjoying Storm. Like, I think Storm is a solid book that caught me by surprise. I don't think it's like top tier, right? And I would say that some of the Marvel books that came out this particular week were pretty decent. But again, they're just never, when you look at it compared to Image and DC right now, I don't give them the higher grades. It just doesn't hit like some of those other books. Like, I know Spider-Boy was mentioned in here. Like, I like that book.
But never hit your top 5.
But it's not like, it's not like, oh yeah, it's a great freaking book,
Right.
I would recommend it if you're looking for something different or an all ages type of book. But
I think It's Jeff is a good example of that too. Like, that's a fun book that It's Jeff. Like, that's something I read this week and I'm like, that was really fun.
Yeah.
But it didn't hit my top 5 because I'm like, it's just a fun all ages book. It's fun. And I do think it's actually some of the best books that Marvel's putting out, but it's just Jeff being cute in the Marvel universe. Like, that's great if you have other not better, like, because I think Jeff's a great palate cleanser. Books like that need to exist, but you have to have the other books that are in the need of the palate cleanser to go along with it. And I don't think that's there at Marvel. And, how do we fix it? I think, again, the best example is the news that came out with the Greg Rucka and Nicola Scott. Get creative teams that want to tell a story and let them tell that specific story. I think Predator vs. Spider-Man, someone brought that up, is a great example of a story that you could just tell he wanted to tell that story. So why the hell not? And it's just like, just tell stories that the creative teams want to tell and hire great creative teams and pay them good money to do it. And again, guess what? If those books are great and original, you can make movies about them later, make more money, like there's a view.
I mean, when you read Spider-Man versus Predator, I closed that book and I'm like, freaking finally, there is something good that is like, it is an Elseworld book, but it's not like it's not from the Ultimate Universe, right? It's just like finally we pushed the envelope. We wrote the character the way he should be written. And this is an exciting book that it's like you close it and you're like, that was freaking fantastic. And I forgot about that book because we only got one issue of it so far.
It's hard to rate it too because it's one issue, right? Issue 2 could fall completely apart, which I'm sure it won't because of just the way it was told. But like, you just don't know where the next issue is gonna go.
Right.
Someone brought up, and I think this is a good comment. I feel like Marvel, and this is Dunk Pacino. I feel like Marvel's lacking a strong macro narrative to push stuff forward. DC has that with All In and Darkseid. X-Men used to have that. Now it's none in the 616 universe. And I 100% agree. We keep talking about Elseworld books because it's just like, oh, I guess that's pushing the narrative, at least for those universes. I feel like the 616 has been so stagnant. Nothing big has happened in such a long time, even just character-wise. There's just nothing happening. I think the last time we had was the Donny Cates Venom, the Al Ewing Immortal Hulks. Like, I want more series like that.
Yeah. I mean, and then you supposedly got this event going on with Doom, but the situation here is that it still doesn't quite feel like a Marvel event. It only feels like a Doom and maybe a Fantastic Four event.
Yeah.
Even though there's other books that are attached to it, like very loosely, so you got the Red Hulk book going on, but it's just really Red Hulk escaping the Doom bots and Doom himself, but it doesn't feel like it's really attached to the major part of the event, right?
It's interesting because it's like all the heroes are supposed to be involved in this, right? They're fighting against them. They're trying to put their heads together and everything. And then you read like West Coast Avengers, and it's like, well, what's Iron Man? What's Iron Man doing over here?
Yeah,
dealing with prisoners and stuff. Yeah, exactly. It's just. Yeah, it doesn't feel important because they're not making it feel important, I guess.
Well, again, and this is coming from someone who's not reading that event. Nothing's affected. I'm reading all my books and Doom is not even in my brain because it's just not actually doing anything. And again, it goes back to these movies. All these events are connected. Oh, we have a Fantastic Four movie coming out. I guess we should have an event. No one watching the Fantastic Four movie that has never read a comic book is going to read this Doom comic book, because if they are, they're going to be very confused. So it just feels like such a weird, and again, a good example is Bloodhunt, which we all didn't really like. And I read that one pretty much all the way through. And it's just like, oh, because the Blade movie is going to come out. And guess what? The Blade movie never came out. Yeah. So it's just like, now we had this kind of useless event.
I've never understood the reasoning behind that. Like I understand a tie-in comic that, mirrors what went on in the movie, separate universe, keep it its own thing to draw people in that may happen to stumble in and be like, oh, I really like this movie. I'll check out this comic because it's, it's that movie or whatever, or, continuation of a TV show or whatever, like I said earlier. But I've never understood like trying to mirror your current storylines and characters and stuff to what's going on the screen, because like you said, Kat, there's very little correlation between the general movie audience and comic readers. So it's just weird to me. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, overall, when you look at this event, it's weird right now because it's got like Dormammu in there, and then it looks like it's going to be Dormammu versus Doom. And it's just like one of those things where it's like, oh, they're taking all the other heroes out of it just so we can focus on those two major characters. I feel like that's a cop-out.
That's probably the only reason they did Doom Academy, because Dormammu's son is there.
Oh,
they're probably going to tie that in somehow.
No, that's so funny. But they need to change the way they do these events to make it to where it means something, to where you feel like something's at stake. And that needs,
like War of the Realms
needs to change. Yeah, War of the Realms. Obviously, we say it a lot because it feels like it was the last great one, which was King in Black. Stuff like that. It just doesn't hit anymore like the way it was. And I was trying to think of the last great decade for Marvel Comics. And I feel like, honestly, I want to say the best was probably 2010 to 2020. Not even great, maybe good. And I think like 2000 to 2010 was probably their last like really good decade where they had like Brian Michael Bendis and the New Avengers, and they had Civil War, and they had all those types of events like there where they still had the great writers. And now I just feel like those writers don't exist so much anymore.
Yeah, and it's not bringing back the old writers just to write old stories. Like, you have Chris Claremont, he can write a new story. He doesn't have to write Kitty Pryde and Wolverine all the time. Like, that's the parts I don't get either. You get Jeff Loeb, we just talked about him, and he's in this Age of Apocalypse, and he's doing Hush. Like, they can write new stuff, and that's the part that's frustrating too. If you have these like legacy writers, I'm sure they can still write. Master Swag says focus on Select 2025 maybe. That's what DC did to reset, and then they got more titles, and I thought that was great. They had a little bit to focus on, then they expanded, and I agree. They have a lot of titles that don't really go anywhere at Marvel, so maybe just condensing, just having good creative teams. And then, the question, when was the last time? I hate to say it was Civil War because that was such a long time ago. I'm really, really trying to think modern. I thought Marvel Now was kind of exciting. I know it didn't like leave in a great place.
It didn't hit though.
Right.
No, it's hidden. I'm really trying to figure out modern. What was the last time? King in Black, people were saying what we were saying, but that was one event.
That's an event, right?
Yeah, it didn't continue after that or before it. Yeah, it's hard.
I really think before Marvel Now, that was the last time that Marvel was good. As soon as they made Marvel Now, that's when things started changing.
I mean, think about it. We made jokes about it all the time. Marvel Now, all new Marvel Now, all new this, and the other. It was a crazy time. It was exciting because you had all these new number ones and these new concepts. Teams were shaken up and all that kind of stuff, but it didn't go anywhere. It just fell flat.
They did it because DC did it. DC did the New 52, and then after the New 52 came out, that's when Marvel was like, we got to compete, because I felt like they were being tested there for a bit, and they're like, well, we're going to make Marvel Now. And that was the start of it right there.
Yeah, I think that was tough. I think, because I'm also trying to think when, especially and again, DC has not been perfect. This is the first time in a very long time they've been like settled. But, and that's because Scott Snyder pretty much took over the creative aspects of DC. Is like, I'm going to kind of steer the ship, and I know DC, I am a creator, let me do it. And I think that really helped DC. I think it's hard for Marvel because there's times where I liked pieces of Marvel, but not Marvel as a whole. Because you could tell, like, honestly, the last time I liked the X-Men, besides this Gail Simone run, and I hate to say, because I think while we were reading it, we didn't love it, was probably Bendis's X-Men. Like, I felt like they were at least doing stuff. Like, weirdly to say that, I think Bendis's X-Men was the last good X-Men. And then Spider-Man, it's been a while. But Nick Spencer, someone mentioned Nick Spencer. Like, those first 15 issues of Nick Spencer was wonderful. We loved that. So it's hard. And then, like, I love the original Spider-Gwen stuff. That was like, oh my God. And then when I had Rainbow on Runaways, that was the best. So there's pieces of Marvel I really enjoyed. So it's hard to say when was Marvel as a whole great. Because it's been a really long time. And again, this is the first time DC's been as a whole has been great in like 20 years. Like, this is just the first time it's happened, in my opinion. Because again, there's been pieces, but this is the first time it's been this good. Like, there's like not a book that you could read and say it's like bad.
DC finally woke up and said, hey, we really got to make some changes. And they, they got rid of people that weren't really having the right vision, and they went different directions. They were bold with chances they took with their characters and their titles and stuff, and Marvel plays it safe a little bit more. So I don't know.
Like you said, Kat, they cut the line. They cut a lot of books that they didn't need, and I think that was number one. And then they focused on, okay, well, what are we going to do different to get people on board? And that's how they decided to do All In and Absolute and focus on the quality and not the quantity. And I think that's starting to win over people now, where Marvel always saturates people with the quantity of books. And you can see it's not doing anything because there's a lot of titles that people are just not enjoying. I mean, like I said, I dropped a ton of books just recently, and probably about 80% of them were Marvel books.
And what's so interesting, go back to the newer titles with Marvel, there's like a formula to it. what I love about these absolute titles, you never know what you're gonna get with those first issues. And I'm like Martian Manhunter is really different than Absolute Batman. But with Marvel, if you read, again, I know you guys like West Coast Avengers, but if you read West Coast Avengers issue 1, or probably this new Avengers book, they all start out the same. It's like, here's a little fight. You get 20 characters that are trying to introduce themselves. Here's a bit of a cliffhanger that's not that exciting, but they'll hook you. And that's every single issue 1 of Marvel. And it's just like a roadmap at this point where it's like, that's not exciting, It's not going to hook me anymore.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And like West Coast Avengers, it's like I like it. I don't love it. It's like it's one of those books. It's like I like the characters. I like, the general concept of it. But it's like even reading this issue, I was like, it's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I liked it better than last issue.
Yeah, it was
but
better
it's
than
not
last
like
issue.
old school West Coast Avengers.
No,
or
no,
even Kate Bishop West Coast Avengers. It's not even the Kelly Thompson's West Coast Avengers.
I know Mike didn't love that one, I don't think, or did you? I don't remember.
West Coast?
The one with the
it was all right. It wasn't.
We liked it better. Yeah,
it was comical at times. I think that's kind of like what I liked about it.
Right.
But it was like almost too far removed from what West Coast Avengers was for me.
Yeah,
that's understandable.
I really like that one, but yeah.
But I mean, so we're looking at Marvel. What do you do to fix it, though? Do you do the DC route? Cut the titles, get rid of all the solo titles, like maybe not all of them, but a good portion of them.
I'd relaunch every single title, honestly. I really would relaunch every title.
Reboot altogether.
I think
not a reboot of the universe, but you got to relaunch them.
Yeah, I think
relaunch all the titles.
Yeah, I think you definitely need to scale back for sure. Maybe not cut everything, but definitely cut some of the dead weight at the very least, and don't rely so much on the nostalgia and solo character books that nobody's glamoring for. I think. Now, I'm all for, like we talked about, throughout the show so far. I'm all for, like, if a creator has a great idea and they really want to tell the story with this character, go for it. But sometimes it feels like they just throw it out there because a character was popular, for a minute, and they're like, okay, we got to capitalize on that,
right?
And then it's just kind of a throwaway story, and that happens a lot, I think. So.
We have Meyer who says they can learn a lot from manga, get their manga out weekly. They need to focus in like 1 or 2 titles. So yeah, I think they're pretty much saying condense as well, because that's like what manga does. I just think they need to recognize it's also like you do the same thing over and over again. It's just insanity, right? And I don't think they're recognizing the problems. So I think they need to first admit, hey, we made some issues. Because guess what? DC kind of did. DC is like, we did a lot of stuff wrong. Let's fix it now. Because if you keep doing the same thing and be like, I'm right. This is what's right. Again, it goes back to the craziness of the editorial of Spider-Man right now. Just being like, oh my God, everything's perfect. This is great. And we're going to keep to this thing that is obviously not working for you. Like it's crazy. And it's just like, you got to admit at a certain point, maybe you were wrong,
Yeah. It's like this comment. No, it's the readers that are wrong. Yeah, exactly. Comic Count.
Yeah.
Your customer is always right. Yeah. That's business 101.
I mean, I think honestly, you should try to find some better writing talent. I think you need to find, that next, I don't know who, maybe next star could be, maybe some upgraded artists. Just because, when I look at the artwork compared to DC and Marvel, I feel like that the artwork in DC right now is also better. When you compare a lot of
it's more diverse too. There's like, again, let's talk about Martian Manhunter for a second. Martian Manhunter looks really different than Absolute Batman. We need more books like that at Marvel. We just need books that look a little different and just like really stand out. I think a good example is something like Incredible Hulk right now, because you have Nick Klein. It looks a little different. And then, but if you read about West Coast Avengers, you read the Doom's Academy, you read Amazing Spider-Man, it all looks the same. It's just like the action-y superhero that we all know.
So what do you have to do to keep Nick Klein on the book more often?
Pay him more money.
Don't sit there and say, all right, Nick Klein, we'll pay you, but we're going to pay you, let's see, what is there, 25 issues of that book right now? well, we're going to pay you 12 books worth, and we're going to get the other guy on here. And I just feel like that's what they did with that book. And we're going to say that Nick Klein is the leading artist there.
Well, a big problem with creators too is not just that they want money, they want royalties. They want to be like, okay, I wrote this book and I created this character. When this is a movie, I want money. Yeah. And I don't think Marvel's willing to give that. So I think that's a little harder. I just saw a comment from Derek who says, I really enjoy a lot of indie books because I feel like the publishers trust the artists. I feel like Marvel doesn't trust the writers and artists. So with indie publishers, at least most of them, especially those creator-owned books, the reason the publisher trusts the artist is because they're not involved. They're really just publishing your comic book. So if you're reading something from like Matt Gabe, let's say, or again, Image, it's the creator writing that book. They're just a vehicle to get that book out there. So something like Boom, though, that's like a little bit of a sidestep. Like I think those creator-owned books are a little bit more geared towards we're working with Boom. But yeah, most indie books are just the creators even putting their money down to do it. At Image, those creators pay to make those books. Images sometimes pays them, but for the most part doesn't.
I think on rare occasions they might suggest, hey, you need a new cover, or hey, you might need a new inker, new artist, whatever. But yeah, by and large, what Kat said is dead on. So that's why there's a little more leeway there, because it's, they pitch the book as is, and then it's up to the publisher to say, hey, yeah, this looks like something we can sell, and then they go for it. So
you know what I would do too? Like we were talking about eliminating the quantity of the books. Yeah. the quality's already been eliminated. But when you look at the quantity, if you were to cut down all the Spider books, if you were to cut down all the X books, that's including the solo titles as well, that in itself, you would eliminate a ton of books. Yeah. We don't need all the Spider books that are out right now. We don't need all those X-Men books either. I mean, I'm sorry, but those solo books, a lot of them don't need to exist, because I don't know. I just think that when it comes to a lot of the X characters, they were meant to be on a team, not on a solo book. And that's why you like those characters.
Yeah, it's like, on one hand, I like giving a variety of content for different types of readers. I do like that. And especially like if you have a character that is really popular and you can, capitalize on that, tell a good story and give more of that character to that fan base. But like you said, Mike, they tend to just put out a whole bunch of them and try to like, oh, well, this Psylocke book sold, so why don't we put and I'm just using arbitrary examples, but we put out a Nightcrawler book. Okay, well, that Nightcrawler book sold a little bit, so let's put out a Storm book, etc. You know what I mean? I don't think there's any rhyme or reason behind it. I think it's like, let's just get as much money out of these as possible.
Well, yeah, and I think that is the biggest difference. If you, again, have a story to tell with Psylocke, let's see that Psylocke story, that solo series. I want to see that. But I agree. It's just like, well, Jean is great. Let's just give her a series. I think there's just got to be better pitches and rhyme and reasons. I think, and again, I don't know. This is just my general sense. I have a feeling Marvel has more of like, here's a series we need, instead of a writer being like, this is a story I want to tell. Mm-hmm. And I think we need more of the later.
Yeah.
The latter.
This comment here just said, you're talking about cutting down books, but what if those books have fans? I'm just saying, just in general, not not right now. I'm just saying, like, if they said, if we completed these series and it's just like, okay, let's start at a point, because all these books that are out, there's no way all these books are selling 80, 90,000 copies, right? You're probably looking at 30,000 copies, if that, when it comes to certain amount of books. So go ahead, Brent.
No, go ahead and finish your thought. I'm sorry. I thought
no, I was just going to say, like, and if you wanted to create those books, okay, do them, but maybe do them one at a time. Do a Psylocke book. Then when the series concludes, do a Rogue book. Then do a Jubilee book. Do your Storm book. Why do they all got to be out at one time?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I was just gonna say, yeah, we're definitely not saying let's just cut all the books that the three of us don't like. We're definitely not saying that.
Yeah.
And we're also, you know, just sharing our opinion and our take. We may be wrong. You know, there could be a complete different approach that we don't know about. It's just, you know, as longtime comic fans and we've been doing these kind of shows forever, it's just kind of what we think. So, you know, take it for what it's worth.
I also do want to read this comment. Yash says, I think we need someone in here that's a Marvel fan to push the narrative and understand both sides. If you weren't here for the beginning, Yash, the three of us are huge Marvel fans. That's why we're where we're coming from. All three of us are not the biggest DC fans. Right. That is how much DC has proven to us. That it's just like, wow, three Marvel fans are rooting, like saying DC's doing it better. That's a lot. Yep. It's us. For what we don't like what's going on in Marvel right now. Again, there's aspects we were just saying, like we love Ultimate Spider-Man. I love Exceptional X-Men. There's sides of Marvel, you know, we're not going to dog on, but yeah, we love Marvel. We love things like Spider-Man. It's just that we just don't agree with what's going on. And we've been doing this show for 15 years? How long has it been? I think it's been 15 years.
Lost track at this
if
point,
we were doing this show when Marvel Now started. Yeah. So when did Marvel Now started? Look
also, we've been doing this show since 2012, if that helps you. I know that for a fact. Yeah, I was graduating high school. I'm 30. We've been doing this show. So we've also just been seeing and reviewing these comics every week on the show for, you know, 12 plus years, and we just seen the shifts, and it's just like, oh, we're just a little frustrated with what's going on right now. That doesn't mean, again, one of my pick of weeks will be Exceptional X-Men, or one of our last week Ultimate Spider-Man was our pick of the week. It's just there's aspects that we cannot ignore from Marvel either. Be like, this is how you can improve. If you look back at our shows 2 or 3 years ago, we've been saying the same thing about DC, where we're like, DC's screwing it up, how can they fix it? And guess what? They did. They looked at themselves and be like, this is how we fix it.
Superman, number one example.
Yeah.
Right?
None of us like Superman that much.
When you had Brian Michael Bendis on Superman. You had John Romita Jr. drawing Superman. That art was so bad that he wouldn't, and when Batman was in that book, he wouldn't even draw Batman with a cape.
That's true.
I remember that. I'm like, how do you not draw Batman with a cape? Right? So we dogged on DC, and we said the same thing. We were like, we like DC, and we hope that DC will get better. It took a long time, but they're finally at the point where they're not just better, they're knocking it out of the park right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. But again, it's not us dogging. I saw someone earlier, I don't know if it was but there's someone else who said, I love the Amazing Spider-Man right now. And I would never dog on that. If you love the Amazing Spider-Man right now, like I'm super happy for you, because that means you're liking comics. That doesn't mean I like it and I have to like it, but you know, I'm just glad someone is.
And listen, when it comes to Amazing Spider-Man, like there's definitely elements of Nick Spencer's run that I liked, but going back and thinking about it now, I like Dan Slott's run way better, because he was on the book for 10 years. And so when he did Superior Spider-Man, and then he went into Amazing Spider-Man, there was a lot of things that, did I disagree on? Sure. But there was a lot of things looking back on it now that I really liked. And he proved himself on that book that he could keep that book going, you know? And so I got to give him credit.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting like retrospect series, because when I was reading it, there's definitely aspects I did not like about that book. But now looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, he had the guts to do something like Superior Spider-Man. There's some really good emotional moments in that run. The last time I think I felt something where the Amazing Spider-Man is when Flash died. You know, there's good moments in there. And again, do I agree with Tevye that he stayed on the book too long? Hell yeah. There's a lot of things that didn't work for that run too. But it's nice to look back at a run and be like, oh, I actually like really liked a lot of it. And I will always be a defender of Nick Spencer's run in that regard too. There's a lot I loved about that run. It's just like you could tell when they turn the corner and they're like, you can't do this, and how much he was like kind of drowning after that, because like, oh, my whole plan is ruined, what do I do?
And I just think also there's a lot of characters there that Marvel doesn't know, or maybe Marvel or the writers that get these jobs, they don't know what to do quite with these characters. Like, it's almost they don't know how to write the character. It's just weird. Like, Spider-Gwen is completely different from what she was, her original concept. You know, you look at Ms. Marvel, same thing. Like, we don't really know what to do with her, so we're gonna make her an X-Men and go back in time and insert her into the X-Men past stories. Like, what is that? Like, there's got to be different things to come up with besides that, right? I mean, I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, we'll see what ends up happening with everything with Marvel. But you know, we're always looking to see strong series and to root for Marvel. So here's hoping we'll get some cool announcements. Again, like something I'm super looking forward to is just like Runaways returning. Like, it's such a little thing, but I'm so looking forward to it. So it's like, oh, I love that run. And it's just like, that's the niches I'm talking about. When you could just focus on a niche and hit it out of the ballpark and do what the fans want from it. Because then those niches will do well. And then even like smaller things like Emma, which is so crazy, like Emma getting a series. Like, we're just talking about 2 big X-Men books, but I'm like, I'm interested in the Emma series. Why the hell not? You know, it's been a while. So
yeah. I mean, the off the wall book that I liked that was out, you know, recently that ended was like Benjamin Percy's run on Ghost Rider.
Sure.
Like, Ghost Rider was a character that I don't normally read. And he made that book awesome. You know, it was something really different. Another book that was decent that we read a little while ago was Kelly Thompson's Black Widow story, where she gave Black Widow a kid and Arcade was behind it. So those are stories that are different for a character, right? That kind of work. But yeah, I mean, listen, there's definitely potential. It's just getting the right people that have the passion for these characters. And I think that's what will turn things around, right? Like, we talk about that. For instance, like Daniel Warren Johnson and his passion for Transformers. You can see his blood, sweat, and tears go into that story. You can just totally feel that. There's been thousands of issues of Transformers written, but it's never been written like this. And it sets it apart from those other series, right?
Yeah.
So that's what you need when it comes to your Spider-Man, your X-Men, you know, those top tier books, Avengers. Like, you need that passion to go in there. So who's it going to be? Who's going to make the difference? Who's going to change it? Who's going to be the next Jeremy Adams? That's basically what happened at, you know, DC. At least you got Jeremy Adams coming in here. He's changing the game, you know, for them. So what's it going to be? They got to find somebody to make a difference for them.
No, I totally agree. Or again, find people that are at least passionate about that certain topic. I think, again, Rainbow's a really good example of that. Where is she gonna write the Avengers? Probably not, but she fucking loves She-Hulk and she loves Runaways, and she wrote really fun versions of that. Even, you know, Mike, you with She-Hulk, you're like, I don't know if I like it that much. And by the end, you're like, I kind of had fun with it. It was a fun soap opera, you know? But it's like, I had a good time with it. Because she loved that character, and you could tell.
Yeah. It just was. I was like, it's like one of those books that I didn't like, but I found myself reading the soap opera aspect of it. And it really was a guilty pleasure. It was just like one of those things where you stay away from the drama, but you almost got to know what's going on, you know?
Yeah. And again, she did a great job with Runaways. Meyer brings up a really good point. G. Willow Wilson on Black Cat, like that could be a pretty nice game changer. I just like want to like runs at this point. It's just like, give me a cool G. Willow Wilson Black Cat run. I think she could do such a good job with that.
I think so too.
She has not done much wrong. So
that's why after reading Poison Ivy for me and getting her to make me read Poison Ivy, and then to sit there and say, okay, now she's going to write Black Cat. I'll sign me up for that all day.
No, I agree.
All right. So that's, I guess we'll wrap that discussion up. And if you guys want to continue to put your comments down on what you would do to, fix Marvel, well, we would love to hear that. But we do have a time frame, and we got to move on to these comic books here. So let's move on to our big books of the week. And let's see. First one, we'll talk about Captain Planet, because we all read Captain Planet.
He's our hero.
Yeah.
He is.
Captain Planet. This was fine. I mean, there's not really much to talk about here. It was a very set up issue on who Captain Planet kind of is, the Planeteers, who Gaia kind of is, and she gets captured, and it was fine. It was fine. It didn't like totally excite me. It wasn't like Space Ghost per se.
Right.
It just told the story of these kids. I mean, that's what it is. So you get to know who they are. And that's just about how I looked at it. And I'll check out issue 2 to see if I will continue the series.
See, I don't know if this issue gave me enough for an issue 2. There wasn't much that hooked me, if I'm being honest. Like you said, it was just fine. Like it wasn't bad. But like when you have something like Power Rangers, which it kind of tried to allude to, like a serious version of a really silly show, it just didn't hit those marks. And again, I didn't grow up with Captain Planet. I've seen episodes here and there. Like I get the gist of it, but it's not something I like. Wasn't my Power Rangers for me. So it's just like, I don't know. We'll see. If people are like, oh my God, the series got so good, maybe I'll pick it up. But I don't think it gave me enough for an issue 2.
Yeah, I appreciate the modernization of it and updating it, making it a little bit more serious and all that. But I'm with you, Mike. I don't think it quite nailed what Space Ghost was able to, or like you said, what Power Rangers was able to. It tried to skirt that, but I think it was still stuck a little too much into the origins of that story. I guess I don't know. I don't know. That one's a harder sell because it's so grounded in the save the planet, eco-friendly stuff, which is great issues and everything. But it's when you're trying to tell a comic story, it's a little harder sell, I think. So it'll be interesting to see what he does with it. I don't know that I'll be on board for it because it just didn't quite grab me like I was hoping it would. So
it was very repetitive.
Yeah.
It was just like one page character, one page character, one page character.
Yeah.
You almost could have just done that in a couple pages and then moved on with the story. We didn't need to learn about, hey, I'm on a boat during the storm and there's these waves coming and then I've acquired the fucking water thing. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, okay, let's move on. So by after 2 pages of that, I got bored of it. But I get what they were trying to do. They're trying to establish the characters and how you form Captain Planet, who's our hero. All right, let's move on from that shit. All right. Because every time I think of Captain Planet, I think of the show. And the show is so cheesy. And I hated watching the show just because it was Sunday morning. Yeah. It was Sunday morning cartoon. And Sunday morning cartoons were not the good ones.
Right.
I think that's why I didn't really watch more of it, because I was just like, oh, it's not that fun.
Yeah, it was cheesy back in the day.
It really was. Absolute Superman issue 7. We get the story of Brainiac in here.
That was weird.
It was weird, but you know what? I like it. I don't know what it is about Superman or Absolute. I just really enjoy it. I don't know, man. It's just I think what they're doing is they're giving you a little bit about each and every character, so you kind of get a better grasp on them. And now I think we've touched on everybody at this point. So now I think we're gonna probably move forward with the story here. That's my prediction.
I want to get back to the story because I do think this was like one issue too much. And you guys don't watch Harley Quinn, but the season of Harley, they have like a comedic version of Brainiac, but they have a really good episode where it talks about his family and his loss. And obviously it's a very Harley Quinn way, but it gave me another perspective of Brainiac, which this issue kind of does the same thing, but I'm like, Harley Quinn kind of did it better. So I was reading it. I was like, oh, I kind of like Harley Quinn's version more, the television show. So I'm excited to go back to the other stuff. This wasn't a particular issue for me, but I'm also not a huge Brainiac fan either.
Yeah, this it was just weird, right? Like I like that it's a completely different kind of Brainiac here, and that there's still these other Brainiacs that don't really know who this idiot is and think he's like who called this meeting, that kind of stuff. I thought that was kind of hilarious, but he's probably the most violent of them all. So I mean, and he's twisted because he's like done brain surgery on himself over and over again. So I think it's interesting, but I agree with you. I definitely want to get back to the core story, and I think we're going to get that with next issue, but we'll see.
Yeah, and he comes from like a long line of Brainiacs. Like he's like
billions, he's
billions down the line, and then he winds up killing like Brainiac 1.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Pretty crazy stuff. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Star Wars issue 1. I was watching your firsts today, your Friday first, Brent, and you talked about this book.
Yeah.
And you liked it. I'm like, I hate this book.
I knew you would hate it. I don't know why I knew that, but I did.
You know why I hate this?
Why?
Phil Noto artwork.
Oh, you didn't like the artwork? I actually liked it.
Not like his artwork.
Gotcha.
I said this. I think he gets the facial expressions right.
Yeah.
But I said this when he did the Marauders at the end of the series when it ended. And I'm like, I cannot stand this man's artwork. And I said this in my show too. I'm like, no disrespect to the man. He's probably a great guy, but I can't. His artwork just seems too like two-dimensional. It doesn't pop out of the pages. His characters seem stiff. It just doesn't work for me, and it takes away from the storytelling. Of course, that's my opinion. If you like it, that's great. I mean, and I don't like the political side of Star Wars, and you always get that with Leia, and I get that's her job, but it's like, this is the first issue, and if you want to grab me, don't sit me down at a table and have a conversation with this lady on the other side. Like, to me, that's just not engaging, right? So I was bored by that. So I don't think I'm going to continue it, man. Maybe just because of the artwork itself.
Gotcha. No, I mean, I understand that. I remember in Marauders how stiff it got at points. So I totally get that. I didn't get that in this issue, but I could, now that you mention it, I could see that in future issues. So we'll see, but I mean, you won't, but I like that, we're focused on the main 3 characters in Star Wars, and they each have their own thing that they're doing. That's right. That's kind of what I liked about it. I really like the likenesses. He definitely did a good job of getting all their faces right. So I don't know. For now, I'm sticking with it. But like I said, every time I start Star Wars at Marvel, I end up dropping it eventually. It just, for some reason, it never holds my interest, and I don't know why that is. But we'll see how long it keeps me this time.
Right. Like, think about Star Wars, right? If you had this new #1 come out and have like Jason Fabek on it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, think about what that book would look
that'd be
like.
next level. Yeah.
Right. So that would change. We're going back to artists on a book. That would change your aspect or someone's aspect on Star Wars in general. True. Because the art alone would carry it. And you would say, oh, man, maybe because of the great artwork, I'm going to move on with this. And, seeing that the Star Destroyer in the beginning of the book, and then doing the X-Wing and TIE Fighter or the Space Pirate fight in the beginning of that book. Like, those are the scenes that you want to see happen. And instead, there was an X-Wing that exploded, and the explosion just like seemed like it just like, I don't know, was very flat. And that, again, it took me out of the book. And then that's what I'm talking about right there.
Gotcha. Speaking of Star Wars, I was flying a TIE Fighter in Fortnite earlier today, so it's pretty cool.
Nice. All right, so let's move on to our number 5, Kat. What do you got for your number 5?
Mine was Grommets, issue 7. It's been a long time coming to get this issue, but it was good. I liked it a lot. I liked how it ended. I liked that the friend moved to Phoenix too, and I really liked the last panel where you don't know what happens to him, where he goes
Oh,
on this
yeah.
like, big ramp.
Very Sopranos moment, yeah.
But you
I was
also
like,
kind of know
"Shoot,
what
I'm
happened to
like,
him.
no, done."
Yeah.
He has no teeth now.
Right.
But yeah, no, I liked the issue. I thought it was fun, and it was a great series. And I enjoyed what Rick Remender had to say in the end, and talking about like his experiences and why he made the book. And you could tell just how much love went into it from the creative team. And those are the books I enjoy. And again, you guys grew up in this time more than I did at all. So it's like kind of cool to get a peek at a time I didn't live in. And then for you guys, it's nostalgia. But what works for this more than, again, there's all these nostalgia comic books out there. It's like, we're going to use the 80s just because it's popular. This feels like it's using the 80s or the 90s because it has something to say. It's like, I have a story to tell, not just the nostalgia aspect.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I don't think you even had to, like, obviously, you weren't around in the 80s, right? But I think no matter when you grew up, this was a book where it could take you back to high school, and you remember those days early on in your life, hanging out with your friends, your childhood friends, maybe that first love, that first kiss that this book shared. So it is relatable in that way. The only difference is obviously it took place in the 80s. And I absolutely adored this book, because same thing, like I just said, it took me back to that time of, when I was hanging out with my friends. And you do get those people that move away and you might not see them ever again. And I remember my first kiss and how, you'll never forget that. Those things, like, you feel that in the book. And again, this is just for me, a next level book. And you can feel the passion that Rick Remender had in this comic book when he wrote it. So just really enjoyable. I had so much fun with this book.
Yeah, it's like you said, everything's relatable. There's still like clicks and you finding your place and feeling like an outcast. All that kind of stuff still exists, no matter what era it's in, right? So all very relatable stuff. So this was just, yeah, it was a great way to cap off this issue. I love that like you said, they just happen to be moving to the same place. It worked out perfectly. It is a comic, and the way it ended with them going down the ramp and all that stuff, it's fun, right? So you knew they weren't gonna like get the best of the bullies and all that stuff. So it mirrored what would probably happen in real life, which is exactly what it was supposed to do. And so I'm glad this book existed. We need more books like that. They're few and far between this kind. So
and just a slice of life book in general. I want to see more of those type of comics.
Right.
Brant, what was your number 5?
What is my number 5? Actually, Amazing Spider-Man. I don't love it, but I do like it a lot better than what we had been getting. I've been enjoying this story so far. I don't remember what the particulars of the issue were, though.
Exactly.
It was the very first book I read, I think.
The whole situation was he came across the Itsy Bitsy character.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about the drug, like he's just like,
I
was on drugs.
So it makes it very, you don't know what's real and what's fake or whatever it is. He's having these hallucinations of Aunt May and Uncle Ben about this jacket, and there's a lot of like weird stuff
fighting.
going on.
And I've said this last time with issue 2. Why start a whole arc with a drug trip? Because again, this whole not knowing what's real, it's such a weird way to start a book, and it's not interesting me as much as I want to. I'm not as hooked.
And I understand that, and I completely understand. I mean, I get it. Did this writer write that Spider-Man speed book, or was that somebody else? Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. And this character is from a book that he wrote too,
right?
The Deadpool.
He did the Deadpool and Spider-Man series,
right? Yeah. So I mean, after reading that book, you can kind of see, oh, well, that's he just kind of likes doing that kind of stuff, I guess. But it was the itsy bitsy stuff that I actually liked. I found it funny the way she almost has a crush on him, but wants to kill him too. I just thought I found it
Weird.
comical, and I like the art in this run so far.
Yeah,
too, so.
absolutely. The artwork is good, and the Hobgoblin
Yeah.
stuff
Good
is interesting
cliffhanger.
too, because
Right.
now it's all connected to energy drinks, and
Mhm.
it's like I think Hobgoblin is producing energy drinks, I think, and
Yeah,
possibly gonna make the whole city hallucinate. Is that where we're going
exactly.
with it?
Yeah, that's what it seems like it's going. And I don't quite trust this friend of his that got him a job and all that stuff
I
either. I
think he
don't know.
might be working with him.
Yeah, I think
But
so
he's
too.
been getting less and less interesting just because of how obvious they've been making that.
Mm.
It's just like, oh, don't trust him. There hasn't been one moment where I feel like he should be a pal. So it's just like I think the on the nose stuff I haven't been enjoying, and all at the same time the things that aren't on the nose, like the drug trips, is weird. So it's just a weird mixture of things.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, cool. And my number 5 is book we already talked about, Absolute Superman. So, all right, so let's move on. And we talked about Amazing Spider-Man. Let's talk about. Well, we don't have to talk about it because I'm the only one that talks about it. Let's talk about Absolute Green Lantern issue 2.
Okay, I was just gonna say I didn't get a chance to read that one. You were
no, that's fine. Absolute Green Lantern issue 2. So this continues the story with Hal Jordan, looking like he's becoming this version of the Black Hand, and he's being taken over, and now he can't control the thing. And then we got Abin Sur, who seemed like he's like. I said this in my review, like he's the judge, jury, and the executioner, like deciding like who lives, who dies, who becomes green, and all this other stuff. And Guy Gardner's a freaking cop in this, and he's the sheriff in this town. And
then he like gets hurt too.
Yeah,
like, he gets
like
badly
be the
hurt.
voice of reason here. Like
there's a lot that happens in
and there's some
for an issue
violence in this
too.
book too, man. It's pretty dark. I was like, wow. So yeah, this was a good book. However, there were some other books I did like better. This didn't make my top 5. There was like 8 or 9 books that were really top 5 worthy. And so I was just like, this one's just gonna miss the mark for me, but not because it was bad. It's just because there was other really good books I enjoyed.
Gotcha.
I really like this one. I was really invested. I love the world they're creating. I thought the cliffhanger was interesting with John. They're really connecting everybody. It's quickly becoming my favorite of the Absolute titles. I just really like it. I like the art a lot too. Kind of it's like this manga style to it that I think really works. But yeah, I like this book a lot.
Yeah, Abin Sur looks like something out of Dragon Ball Z.
People are saying he looks like Majin Buu.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Like he's evolved.
Right, I could see that for sure. So yeah, it's just interesting just the direction they're going with all these characters and everything, and the fact that like where we started with issue 1, it was all mystery, and now in this issue we're kind of rewinding that, and we see that they knew each other had these powers and everything. So it was like totally, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting them when she walked into the diner and found Hal there. I thought that was like the discovery point, but they already knew all this, and so I thought that was interesting. So it's keeping me on my toes. It's keeping me guessing. And I like the art as well. I like that all these, and I think we talked about this last issue, but I like that all the like core Green Lantern characters are there, and they're in different roles, and they're being affected in different ways.
Right.
And you mentioned it went really dark. Like somebody lost their hand, and it was just like crazy stuff like that. And it was just, this is definitely becoming one of my favorite Absolute books for sure. So I really enjoyed this one as well.
Nice. Okay. Very cool. All right, so let's move on to our number 4. Kat, what was your number 4?
Mine was Uncanny Valley, issue 9. This issue is kind of point A to point B issue of the mom and the grandfather trying to find our main character, but I liked the character work. I honestly relate this a lot to Feral from last week, which same writer. It's very similar where it's like, it's the setting's not moving that much, but there's a lot of character work, which I like. And I like everything with the mom, especially.
A lot with the mom,
yeah. She's trying to like kind of embrace this cartoon stuff. I liked her relationship with her dad. But yeah, really solid issue.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a good character work. I like how the mom's taking it to the next level. She's like going to commit to the whole tune thing. She's got that necklace with her, that charm or whatever it is. And it was good to see the interaction between obviously the mom and the father there. So that was kind of cool. And just the different uses of cartoons in the book itself too is very creative, because you got to see like Oliver banging his head against the cell and until he saw birdies, and then he used the bird to go send a message to the mom. It's so creative, man. I really like that.
I agree. It's just like, again, someone said Tony Fleeks is underrated. Very much agree. Like, he's another one. Like, anything he touches is just kind of pure gold and is like a Jeremy Adams in that way. Styles says Uncanny Valley book of the year. I wouldn't say it's my number one book, but it's in my top 10. I really like it. It's definitely one of my favorite indie titles.
It's suffering from delay issues though.
Yeah.
That's kind of the problem with it, where you kind of forget what happens. And then you're like, you read it and you're kind of like, okay, I kind of remember now. So this is almost a book where I would, once you have all the issues, like to really enjoy it, just read it again, and then I think you can get the pure enjoyment out of the story. Why is it delayed? It just has to do with everything that's been going on, just with distribution and all that other stuff.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Boom is still kind of connected to the Dynamite stuff. So that's pretty much the reason why. Not Dynamite, Diamond stuff.
All right. So, Brand, what was your number 4?
My number 4 was The Moon is Following Us.
That's mine too.
Nice. So, yeah. So we find out the fate of Duncan, right? That's his name, right? The dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, which, obviously we thought we found out the fate last issue, and he surprises us in this issue, but still doesn't quite make it out. But we finally rescue Penny after 9 issues. We finally got her, only to lose another. But it seems like there's deeper issues there. The last couple of issues have been kind of hinting that there's some kind of big secret that he's been keeping, and I'm wondering if it ties back to this world somehow. So that'll be interesting if we continue to follow that. But yeah,
it just seemed like his nightmare was
right.
Like was it his uncle? Was that what it was, or
was
something
it? I
like
didn't catch that. Yeah.
Well, that was from like 2 issues ago.
Yeah.
Like when you saw the end of it,
right?
And it was like, oh yeah, hey, we're gonna hang out tonight or whatever it is.
Yeah. You're right.
And it seemed like he was this book got dark, but it seemed like he was getting like sexually abused, and that was his worst nightmare. And I feel like that entered into this realm.
I had forgotten about that. Yeah, I think you're right. So yeah, it got pretty dark, and like I think it was last issue where he was like being really tight-lipped about it and flashbacks and stuff. Yeah. So yeah, it just continues to be a great, really strong story, and love the strength of the mom. How she just, no matter what, she wasn't gonna, stop. So
and this issue also had like, there's the emotional attachment to the book, but then there was just also mixed in with that crazy intense action, them trying to escape to get back to home. That's what they were really trying to go for. But yeah, it's a great book, man. It really is. I really enjoy this book. So they hit number 4 for me.
We do have a question from Leonardo. Kat, why don't you guys talk about your comics? I mean, I always plug the Kickstarters and stuff, but I'll say that like on a weekly basis for everyone to talk and review about my comics probably is a little biased. So I don't think we'd use the show for that. But if you ever have questions about the comics, we're always willing to answer them. And I always get an opportunity to plug them too on the show. So there's always at least talk there as well. And I think I mentioned we got a Loud House comic book coming out this month too. So I'm sure we'll do plugs for that towards the end of the month. So I could never see us diving deep and dissecting my comics. I don't know if I would want to be here for that, but it'd be, it's always good to at least shout them out. But thank you for the question.
it's something that I think even when there were more of us that were creating comics on, you know, Chris used to be on here, and you know, I create comics as well. And we always, like, when we would do the reward shows and stuff, we would purposely leave our stuff off and all that kind of stuff. It's just, it feels weird talking about your own books and each other's books at the same time. So
yeah, unless there was something crazy special that were like,
right.
hey guys, I really want to promote this. Like that would be different. But also, like, I release a lot of comics. It'd be a little weird. Like every month and every week, is like, all right, let's talk about
a lot of Pat's books. Yeah.
And just it would be a little bit too much.
All worthy of talking about, but yeah, yeah, I totally get what you're saying.
We do also have a question from Styles. Is there another Beneath the Trees book? Yes, it is coming. Like our aficionado says, in a couple of months. So I'm sure we'll be talking about that when that comes out.
They had the free comic book day issue come out where it previewed that book, and it was like 6 or 7 pages of that first issue. So pretty cool. All right, so now let's move on. Let's talked about Grommets. We'll talk about Black Canary, Best of the Best. This was the conclusion of the series, and I know you and Brant actually read it, Kat. So what'd you guys think of the conclusion?
I really liked it. Tom King sticks the landing on this one. He is much better with miniseries, and I just feel like he understood his theme, because it was just this 4 or 6 issues, whatever it was, and the theme was about her relationship with her mom, and it was a tough relationship because honestly, she didn't have the most normal childhood. And I don't even know if the story is supposed to let you know that the mom was great. It kind of pushed her to places that she didn't want to be, but she'd do anything to save her mom, all intercutted with this really interesting fight with Lady Shiva. I like that it was just very focused, and I think it ended on a good note.
Yeah, it was interesting because you never knew up until the end which way she was going to go with it. And I felt like the way that it ended, and I won't spoil it for anybody that's reading it, but the way that it ended felt right. It felt very poetic, which is very Tom King, but in a very good way. It seemed like the right call, and it seemed like it was a nice, meaningful, emotionally, infused ending that hit all the notes for her character. Told this beautiful story between her and her mom that was contentious yet still full of love and respect and all of that stuff, and all the while getting this amazing full of action fight, knock down, drag out, bloody fight between her and Shiva to prove who's the best of the best. So yeah, just a really surprisingly, just really good story that took me by surprise, what I was trying to say.
I agree.
Awesome. Okay. And then let's see, where are we at here? We're talking about all new Venom. This is issue 6. So here we got the origin story of Mary Jane and the symbiote on how they are together. And the way this was told was like, should have been in that miniseries that was released, because that probably would have made a better story instead of that actual miniseries. But we get to learn that the symbiote affected her gauntlet because the gauntlet wasn't powerful enough. And then what happened is that Venom was dying and the symbiote was searching for the pieces of symbiote was searching for Venom. And then we wind up finding out that the thing kept on spinning over and over and over and over again. And eventually it was going to hit those 3 skulls and she was going to die. So they wind up working together, and that's how they become a symbiotic relationship now. And the funny thing about this is that they have to constantly keep touching each other in order to to stay connected. And Paul's sitting there going, so why are you guys sitting like that? And then it gives the whole relationship, and Venom is just like this. It's just so funny, dude. I don't necessarily agree with Mary Jane having a Venom symbiote, but the book is hysterical. Like, I find myself laughing and dying when I'm reading this, because not only is their relationship forced because to keep them each other alive, but the interaction is hilarious. And then I love how this whole book is dissing Paul. It's like, your technology sucks, Paul. And he's like, oh, sorry. And she's like, I guess that's why we weren't intimate, was it? Because you're with Venom. And she's like, yeah, kind of. 3 crowds the room. I mean, I'm just like, oh my God, that's so funny. And then here comes Dylan walking in the freaking room as they're talking. And he's like, oh, you 3 are all together. Like, there were so many like funny moments in this book where I just find it hysterical. And it's not even that great of a book, but I'm just laughing.
It's such a weird book. What are you gonna say, Brent?
No, go ahead. I'm basically
it's
saying
weird.
the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because like what I like about the book is that it does have potential. There's such interesting stuff here. Like there's something there that wants me to continue more, right? This relationship is like, where does that go? What's like the heart of this book? Dylan randomly appearing, like what his place is gonna be. I like all that. I just don't know if it's executed correctly, and I don't know if we needed an exposition dump. Not really sure, but it gives me enough to want to read more. I guess that's all you can ask for.
The exposition dump, though, was a small way of telling them, well, this is what you didn't see on panel in that last miniseries of what happened.
But like you said, it should have just been in that previous miniseries.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. It's so weird because it's like it would be so easy to hate on the book, but at the same time, like you all, I'm having fun with it. It's just
the art's weird. Not bad either. Like it's like a decent book to look at.
Yeah, the art's nice. I don't even like hate the explanation of why she's got the symbiote. Even if I don't like her having one, it makes sense in my brain. Is like, okay, I can accept that, and in this weird way. And it's especially because it's put a wedge in between her and Paul. It's like, okay,
I think that's why you like it, right?
Yeah,
it's like it's preventing her from being Jackpot.
Yeah,
the gauntlet doesn't exist anymore,
right?
Because it's just hysterical, and he's just like, oh, and now he's like more useless than ever because it's like now you're not going to be able to control, her with this device, right? And now you can't even be intimate with her because it's just weird. It's just funny.
If this whole series was just like an elaborate way to get rid of Paul, I am all for it. I'm down for it. Just bring it on. I'm happy. Let's go.
What if it drives him crazy?
Yeah, it could. It could turn him into, the evil version again.
Well, it's like the sadness lantern from
the sorrow,
sorrow lantern.
And just the comedy, like you said too, like Flash. Was it Flash? Yeah, it was Flash on the outside. I was like, I think we gotta fight. It's just like that's how we end the issue. It's like,
I
think
I like that too. And I also like kind of want to see Flash and Mary Jane talk. Like I think there's like interesting stuff for that. We do have a question. Do you guys like the new Venom look? I like it. I think it works. Like I enjoy the new Venom look.
It works for this, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. It's fine. Kind of makes you understand like why Venom is still the way Venom looks, because they're still 2 different entities, if that makes sense. Like, yes, they still have to always be touching, but they can be their own thing. And I think that's kind of like what they're going for here a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, man. It was funny. I enjoyed it for what it is. It's kind of like a She-Hulk. It's like I don't like the idea of her being a Venom, but I kind of want to read the soap opera,
Yeah.
All right. So we talked about that. So let's go on to our number 3. What was your number 3, Brant?
Mine was Black. Black Canary.
Black Canary.
I almost said Black Cat.
Gotcha. What about you, Kat?
Mine was Jump Scare issue 3. You're a fan of?
One. Yeah.
I really like it. I continue to really like it. I won't spoil what happens, but this leans more into the family dynamic. It has an interesting twist with the villain. I just like her personality. I like the art a lot. if you're a fan of slashers like I am, if you're a fan of superheroes, it's a weird mishmash that works. And honestly, every issue like really like progresses a story, which I'm kind of surprised by, with again such kind of a loose concept of slashers meet superheroes, but it really has a vision as well.
Yeah. I went back and read issue 2 this week because I wanted to catch up and I just ran out of time. But yeah, I really liked it. It's just, I like when she went back to the family and was like, nah, you're on your own, because she sees the photo folded up. Yeah. And it's just, I don't know. You can, even though it's like this over the top, crazy bloody story, there's a lot of heart in it and a lot of, issues she's dealing with. And she's very relatable in a weird twisted way. So I like that aspect.
This issue was pretty good. I mean, I liked it. I liked the proposal that the creature had, and I don't want to give too much away because Brant's still got to read it, but I think you'll enjoy it, Brant. It's a good book. I really have a lot of fun with it. Now it's just going to this like different place, and I'm kind of like, oh, I didn't see that coming. So I am excited for it. All right. So, and my number 3 was actually Pop Kill, issue 3.
You're enjoying that one.
This book is fun, dude. I really love this one. And this one focuses more on obviously the soda wars, and you learn about the brothers of the company in this one. And they're joined at the arm when they were born, and then they got separated. And ever since then, they've been this rivalry, but you just got to learn about the origin story of these guys and the hatred for each other. And obviously their hatred on who needs, or actually the competition and who's first and who's second, and just all these different things. And it's such a fun book. I just never thought I would like a book about soda so much, but it works. I like it. And, so it's a special book, and this is one of the books that is made by Mad Cave. Yeah,
I caught up on this one, and you're right. It is just like this weird out of the world concept, but it's good. It's like I would love to be in the room when they pitched it. Right?
Yeah.
It's like Pepsi versus Coke, but they're run by Yakuza warlords and espionage and spies and all this stuff, and it's just, that'd be so weird.
We're gonna hire a hitman to take out this lady who has this formula for like infinite carbonation, so it's just, it's so funny, man.
Yeah.
Great
Christian says, I was going to pick up Pop Kill, but I passed when I learned it's just a reprint. It kind of is, but it's a Kickstarter book that was a graphic novel. And this is just them releasing it in floppy. So it's the reverse of your normal graphic novel. Usually you collect it in trade. Right. So it's just, it's kind of a reprint, but it's never been on shelves. Like
if you've never read it and you never got it from Kickstarter, you're going to want to check it out. I mean,
that's not really a reprint. That's just a different format release.
Yeah, I agree to that. It's not a second printing. It is like the first time it's being released this way.
Yeah. And if you like Adam Hughes covers, you might like that. I mean, if you collect them, like I got this Adam Hughes cover right here.
Yeah,
they're gorgeous covers, man.
It's like Inferno Girl Red from Image Comics. That was a Kickstarter in a larger format, and then they split it up to 3 issues, I think. So
right. So yeah, fun book. Really enjoy it. Looking forward to more. All right, so let's move on now to, let's talk about Batgirl issue 7. I dropped it. I'm done with it, and I'm just gonna have to be okay with it.
I'll say this issue, I won't say will change your mind, because it's Lady Shiva's gone. But now she leaves a message to Batgirls, like, let me tell you about my past. So it's like a Lady Shiva issue, and it's not really a Cassandra issue. And I didn't quite like that. I want Cassandra, so I was a little disappointed by that.
I agree that I would prefer Cassandra and a story centered around her, but I actually liked learning about her and her sister and all of that. So I get it. I totally get it. If that's not what you want out of this book, drop it by all means. So
okay. Not much is said there about that one.
It's stellar. It was just
yeah,
an
right.
enjoyable story.
It was
right?
like, yeah. All right, so let's see. Let's move on now to X-Men issue 16. So this is the new X-Men fighting the old X-Men, and the new X-Men are just part of Cassandra Nova's version of X-Men, and it's just like any other Jed MacKay book that if you've read, it's the same cookie cutter cutout where it's like, let me create a team and they're going to fight the other team. We're going to see who wins. That's exactly what this book was.
I don't understand that though, because he's so good in solo books,
Yeah.
And there have been good issues of this book.
There has. And I wouldn't say that this issue was bad.
No.
The action is cool. It's cool to see the artwork in here, right? And if you never read a Jed MacKay team up book before, like a team book, you might be fine with this.
Right.
But if you read all the issues of Avengers and then you are reading this, it's like this.
It's the exact same. Yeah. So it's I don't know why he does that. It's just weird. It's like, okay, we got a team. We got to put another team against them. We got to just have to fight it out all the time.
And there's no depth to this book.
Right.
So, and then you finally get Magneto back, right? He gets his powers back temporarily due to this formula that's been created. We don't know what's going to happen to him in the long term. But what happens? He does the same thing. Jed MacKay says, we're going to put you in an abandoned Sentinel. You're going to be this big, gigantic kaiju monster fighting another kaiju monster. Yeah. So it's just matchup against matchup. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So
no, I agree.
Nothing new there. All right. So let's move on. Let's go on to our number 2. Kat, number 2.
Mine is Black Mary. We already talked about it.
All right. Brant?
Mine is Grommets. We already talked about it.
Okay. Mine, believe it or not, was Venom.
All for the fun with it.
Just for the fun aspect of it. Not because even it's a good story. Yeah. Just I was entertained. And I guess if you can entertain somebody, hey, that's all good too, right?
Yeah.
All right. And then let's move on here. So let's talk about, we talked about Uncanny Valley. So let's move on to Birds of Prey, issue 21. What do you guys think?
It's a series that I'm enjoying. I like it. It reminds me a lot of what Batgirls was becoming in the end, where it's like, oh, finally it found its groove. And I feel the same way. Is it a book that'll blow your mind? No. But if you like this franchise, you like these characters hanging out with each other, it's good art. Big Barda becomes this like sentient type creature. So you're like, oh man, she's on a different side of the crew here. It's fun. It really depends on how much you like the franchise, though. I won't say this will turn you into a Birds of Prey fan, but I like it as a Birds of Prey fan.
What I really liked about it was her calling all the Birds of Prey, like from all the different arcs, and just tell them it's like Code Black, whatever it was, and John Constantine. So everybody's getting involved, and it's culminating after all this build up. But yeah, like you said, it's very similar to Batgirls in that it took it a couple of arcs to really find its footing. And once it did, it's an enjoyable book, but it is like, if you don't love these characters and this concept, you're probably not going to, be on board with it. But if you do, you're really going to enjoy it. So that's kind of where I'm at too with you, Kat. So, but yeah, I liked it. I like, that they're fighting this, team that seems to have their number. So I'm curious to see where that goes.
All right. Very cool. And then let's see. Then Brant and I read Ultimate Wolverine, issue 5. What'd you think, Brant? I want to hear your thoughts on this.
I definitely liked it better than issue 4.
I would say I did like it better than issue 4.
Yeah. So what I did like about this issue was that it was revisiting, something that we see all the time in the 616, which is Sabretooth and Wolverine. And we get our introduction to him, and, they fight. So that's basically all this issue is, Sabretooth versus Wolverine. And now he's going to be taken back to the people that know who he is. So I think that's interesting. We also got introduced to Artie and Leech in this issue, which I was not expecting to see them, because I haven't seen them forever in any version of Marvel. But beyond that, it's like, where did that come from? Why is he there? Unless he went there purposely because of that flashback where he said, if they ever turn me into a puppet, kill me. And that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's like in the back of his mind, he just, subconsciously went to Sabretooth to die.
I guess, like, after he killed all those soldiers, like, is that where he went?
I guess so.
Because it was very unclear of
right.
why he got there.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then Sabretooth seems more like a good guy in this world, whereas Wolverine is the more, obviously, the one that's brainwashed, and you would think the villain in this book. The only thing that I really had a problem with was obviously the clarity of when this took place.
Yeah.
And the art change. The art change was different.
Oh, it was drastically different. Yeah.
And I was like, man, you introduce a character like Sabretooth in here, and you don't even have the main artist on the book.
Yeah. And it's also a mini series. It's not even like an ongoing or a maxi series, but.
And it's not that the art was bad. It was just so different from what we got in the previous issues.
Right.
Like, it was more cartoony, I thought.
Yes, exactly. So I don't know. We'll see. I did like it better though than the last issue, because it felt like it had some heart. The character, like Sabretooth, like cared about Wolverine and things like that. So that's what I liked about it.
Right.
Okay. So good. So then let's just dive into our number one. What was yours, Kat?
Absolute Green Lantern. We already talked about it.
Man, Brant, for you?
That was mine as well.
Well, gotcha. Mine was actually Grommets.
So figured on that one too.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool. So then let's move on to our top 3 most anticipated comics of the week. What do you guys got?
Yeah. So my list is very heavily pulled from your all's list. So we'll dive into that. So obviously, Invincible Universe Battle Beast, Kat and I both have that one. That is on all of our radar. We talked about it. Yeah, go ahead.
The creative team is this creative team's returning. I was telling this to Mike. It's so hard to also decipher where it's going to be though, like on my list, because I have not been following the cartoon. I don't remember this character very well, but it's just the idea of Ryan Otley and Robert Kirkman being back. But like, would I rather a Mark and Adam Eve book? Yeah, like obviously, but I'm very curious what this book's going to be and why they're returning with this character in particular.
Yeah. And I mean, I did watch the episode that, he was in, and it was entertaining, very bloody, very battle-esque. So, I mean, I don't know what this story is going to be like either, though, but I'm excited for the creative team back on it. Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. Mike, you got Space Ghost, which I also read. I love that book. This one was delayed too, right?
Maybe by a little bit.
Probably.
But a couple weeks, maybe.
But this is the conclusion to the first story arc.
Yeah.
So, and then I think we get an annual, and then later on in the year, we'll get the second volume, which I'm happy, because I have a feeling that when this originally came out, I think it was slotted for 12 issues, and that was it. Yeah. And based off of the popularity of this comic, that's when they ordered a volume 2 with the same creative team, because people were really enjoying this book.
Yeah.
So curious to see how this will end. I loved every single issue of this. There was never a bad issue of this comic book ever. The quality never dipped.
Right. No, I completely agree with that. It's a fantastic book. Let's see. Supergirl number 1. I'm definitely looking forward to that. It didn't make my list here tonight, but it seems like a fun idea for her. So
it's also been such a long time since we've had a Supergirl series. I'm very invested in the franchise. I think the only time I've ever dropped Supergirl was in that weird New 52 era.
Yeah.
Not New 52. Was it New 52 or was it DC Rebirth? Whichever one had
remember.
the DOE, not DOE,
Yeah.
DEO. I couldn't get into that one. It was like a little bit too related to the TV show, but I've read every other Supergirl series ever. So I'm very invested in her character. It's out of the DC size stuff. I just always enjoyed her. So I'm curious to see what this new era of Supergirl is going to be, because we haven't really seen the character talk that much.
Right.
Like, she appears in the background of Superman a lot, but she's not much of a character.
Yeah. And she's got a new costume, which to me, it seems reminiscent of the Michael Turner costume. So I'm a fan of that. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it. Geiger number 14. I think I still have to read last issue. I think I'm a little behind, but this is still with Ash Arden, right? Like, this is him against the glowing woman.
Yeah, but he's like, they were working together in this last issue, and there was something that happened in the last issue that might make them fight each other. And there's something going on with the military that's coming on board and stuff like that. Good emotional issue in the last one also. So, I mean, this book just always delivers. It never disappoints here.
Yeah, for sure. Then we have Huck Big Bad World, issue number 1. I know we're all looking forward to that as well. We all liked the first one. Hopefully it's, just as good, but
a long time, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I didn't have it in my top. It was almost there, but it's just like, it's been such a long time. Like, do I remember the series well enough? Are they going to recap it? That was the part I wasn't really sure of.
Right, for sure. And then we'll go to Gwenpool, because Mike and I have the same number 1, but
I always say this when there's a weird book like Gwenpool on the list. Most anticipated doesn't mean I think it's going to be my number 1 book. It means I'm really excited to find out what it's about. And this is one of those books where I'm like, I don't know if it'll be good, but I'm really curious about Gwen Stacy coming to life and becoming Gwenpool. Sure. Like, what the hell does that look like?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. And then Mike and I have Transformers number 20, which is supposed to have a bunch of first appearances for Transformers and G.I. Joe characters in this issue. So looking forward to that.
I mean, there's never, every time this comes out, it's always my number 1, no matter how many times I read it, just because I'm enjoying the ride while it's around. I don't know how long the quality is going to be like this. We don't know who the next writer is going to be, when it's going to return, if it takes a hiatus. So, like, I'm just trying to enjoy each and every issue that it comes out. And I'm not sure if you read the Free Comic Book Day. Oh, you didn't, Brant. But the Free Comic Book Day issue was freaking great. Yeah. It was Clutch and Hound were in that issue together.
Nice.
So really,
I didn't know anything where I read that issue and I forgot what their names were. And I thought you were using like a new Gen Z. Oh, I probably did. I thought you were using new like slang, like Gen Z slang. Just I was like, it was so name. I was like, whoa, Mike.
It's like, yeah, he's Clutch, yo.
That's what I thought you were saying.
His name is Clutch.
Yeah,
Clutch and Hound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He sound waved to me.
I think Decepticon.
Hound's an Autobot. Clutch is a G.I. Joe.
Oh, God. You goddamn mid-90s kid. That was when you were born.
No, I don't. Transformers did not hit my generation at all. I don't know. I know one person in my era I've ever met who's like, I love Transformers.
Transformers did make many attempts to come back.
My brother was really into Beast Wars, and he's around your age, Kat. He was born in 92. And Beast Wars was huge when he was a kid. He had a bunch of the toys and stuff like that. So yeah,
they had Generation 1 and they had Generation 2, which basically was just re-releases of the original Transformers. Yeah. And then there was a lull, and then came out with Beast Wars. Yeah. And Beast Wars was pretty popular. Yeah. But then from there on out, I don't think it was very popular until the movies came out.
Yeah, because
that was so different. Like you're watching Shia LaBeouf in those movies that there weren't,
they tried to capitalize on the Beast Wars by changing to Beast Machines, and then they did, Armada, different stuff like that throughout the years, and nothing quite hit like the others, but anyway, that's it. That's all our anticipated. So
there you guys have it. We got it just under 2 hours, which is good.
A long one this week, but
12:22, and I gotta go to bed.
yes.
But this was a fun show.
Just real quick for next week, I will definitely not be on. So just letting you guys know, I won't be on the show next week.
Yeah. And one more announcement. We have only 2 more weeks until this season concludes, because I got my tennis summer camp and I'm not staying up till 12:30 in the morning to do the show because I got to be at camp at like 7:30. So we will be doing 1 show a month during the summer, though, sometime during June, which we talked about, Kat and I off air.
Yeah.
1 in July, and then we'll return back in like August when school gets back in session.
And as you guessed, for July, it'll be the week after San Diego Comic-Con, because we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But that schedule has worked for us in the past. We've tried many other summers where we're like, we're going to do it on a weekly basis and we're just going to wing it, and never worked. We all are super busy during the summer, so this just makes more sense, and it's more consistent for you guys too, so you're not being left hanging, and you'll still get the once a month conversations. And then after August we'll be back. But I feel bad I have to miss next week, but I'm going to a Las Vegas licensing expo event, so I just won't be able to go, but I'm glad I'll be on for the last show of the season.
Perfect. All right, guys, well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Brant, Kat, for being here also. It's another great show. And guys, remember, before you leave, give this show a thumbs up. It definitely helps, that algorithm out there. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, Comic Book Corner 2.0, Kat's channel, Cat Comic Uno, or Brant's channel, Only Good Comics, then you got to do it. You got to check out their shows. All right. And
especially during the summer hiatus, you got to know what's going on.
You can catch up on all our videos because we've all been around for like 20 years. We have lots of content you guys can watch. Like, trust us. So, but there you guys have it. Have a great new comic book day. Enjoy those new Battle Beast comics. Hopefully you get all those blind bags, and happy new comic book day, guys. Good night, everybody.